And I've just started to sell the tickets for She Sets the Standard for November. And we are over a quarter sold now. And I haven't given any details. Like my husband was like, you haven't given them the venue. You haven't given them any speakers. You haven't given them any details. People know about this event. It's only run once before, but people know that they need to be in this room. And that's the power of when you create a brand around an experience as well, that people want to get drawn into. Welcome to Rich Work, the podcast for established female entrepreneurs ready to turn their expertise into premium clients and consistent high-ticket revenue. I'm Rachel Pearson, global brand and business strategist, skincare obsessed, and always distracted by booking the next mini break. Here you'll learn how to position like a luxury brand, attract clients who love to invest, and build wealth that actually lasts, so you can create the business and life you want, not someone else's version of success. This is where premium positioning and building wealth meet for women who are rewriting the rules. Let's get into it. This week, I am taking you behind the scenes into my slightly wild creative process of designing events. And by events, I mean, I will be talking about in-person events, but I also mean online events. So if you're running a masterclass, basically anywhere that you want to bring a community of your ideal clients together. And I am going to focus on events to talk through this, how I think about it. But this is a bigger conversation. It is about how do you create a brand world, a world where your brand lives. And this is something that I have always talked about since I started the business. And I see other people talking about it. And it's not like I am stood here claiming that I came up with a concept. I absolutely didn't. But because I come from a brand background, I'm not a designer, but I was a brand strategist. I have always thought about doing this with my clients as well. And when I say brand world, I mean how you think about what your clients are stepping into when they work with you, not from a place of status or this weird, like putting you on a pedestal thing that we can have in the online, particularly in the coaching space, but what it feels like to be part of your work. So with my current clients, I want them to feel energized. I want them to feel like they're part of what I'm building, that it's exciting to be part of what I am creating in my business, and that they get to share in that. And that is going to inspire and help them think creatively about their business. And then for clients that don't work with me yet, but would be ideal to work with me, I want to turn their head. I want to create something that they feel it. They feel excited. They feel drawn into it. And that's not just going to be about the way that my brand looks, my beautiful brand colors. And I think when we talk about a brand, that's often what people think about is the visual system of it, the fonts, the brand colors, the logo, the symbols. And it's all important, but that's one part of a brand. And what I think we're going to see become more important is how people live inside your brand, like how they feel it, how they experience it. What are those moments where they can, even before they see your logo or your name, they just know that it's you. And it's an interesting time for me to do this episode because I've just done an event. So I ran an event a few days ago, which was a really small mastermind event, 10 people, then went into private dining. And then I'm also starting to think about and plan the experience for my signature business event, which happens in November. She Sets the Standard. Not in terms of content. Content is separate and there will be good content, don't worry, but more in terms of the experience of as soon as they walk in and actually before they walk into that event in November, what are they going to be anticipating? How are they going to feel that this is only an event that I could run? So I'm going to talk through a few different examples. And as with everything I do, it's not a blueprint of how to run events or how to think about creating a brand world, but I'm going to give you examples of how I think about it that may inspire you, or you might think, actually, this is an element that I can bring into the way that I work. So I run a variety of different size events, and I have run events with my mastermind. So if you're a mastermind client of mine, we have a retreat. I've actually got one next week at the time I'm recording this episode. I've run retreats, so retreats abroad. I have run one-day business events. everything, no matter the format, to me, always starts with what is the transformation that I want people to have that day, in that experience, in that time frame with me. Because anybody can create information, and you don't need me to tell you that we're in this world now where there is a ton of information available, and you can be taught how to create a great speech, a great speaking topic to deliver on stage, to structure it in a way that creates desire for your offer, that sells from the stage. Like, I've done all of that before, and there's a psychology behind it, but I'm talking about something different here, because if you can be taught that, and yes, some people will be naturally better speakers than others, but it's a skill. That is a skill. And what is going to differentiate your event and your brand is how people feel connected to the content. And it's like when you're reading a story. So a good book, there's that famous quote of, people don't remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel. And when you read a story, you are connecting in with the content. It's a feeling, it's an emotional connection that means that the story then stays with you. And that's how I think about running events. And the content does have to be good. Like, you cannot run events now where the content does not deliver to a high standard, because there are so many events to choose from, both offline and online. But I also think about, what is the concept that this event represents? So I'll give you some examples. Whenever I run a retreat, I have a theme for that retreat. And it's not sales or marketing or content. Those things will come into it, but that's what you can teach. When I say concept, I mean, when I look at the transformation that's going to happen on this retreat with me, I look at what is holding my clients back, and ultimately, what do they desire? And so when I ran my retreat in Puglia, so I did a retreat in Italy end of last summer. At that point, I was looking at the clients that were coming, and I could sense that this was not about them learning more strategy. They all ran successful businesses. Some of them had teams. They had increased their revenue. They knew the strategy, but this was about them really deciding to own the quality of their work and to not keep on hiding behind client results and just letting the clients speak for them, and then not really taking the credit for it, or keeping their prices lower than they should be, or running offers that they had outgrown. It was going to be a week together where, from an identity perspective, they were needing to acknowledge where they were letting things continue that they had outgrown, and really stand in their decision that the quality of their work is really high. And so I designed the retreat really with that theme in mind. And even from the moment that they showed up, so I made sure to take care of everything so that they really felt like they were being held at a different standard. So from me and my team organizing the private driver to pick them up, to bring them to the villa, to the way that I knew exactly what every client liked to eat. Like, one really loved herbal teas, so we had all of the particular special foods brought in. But more than that, it was really from the moment that they walked in, knowing that I saw the qualities in them that they weren't seeing in themselves yet. And so one of the things I did when they first arrived is I had a beautiful beach bag, like a high-end beach bag, that I had chosen a different design for each of them that represented something about their strength in business. So for one of my clients who is a holistic health coach, she had like the all-seeing eye as a pattern on her bag, because her energy is her strength. Her ability to support clients with their capacity is her absolute zone of genius. And she was not recognizing that for herself. She was honoring her own energy, but was not seeing how incredible it was that she was able to run multiple businesses, keep up her nutrition, make sure that she was, well hydrated and sleep, traveling around the world. And she just did it like it was the most normal thing in the world. So even from when she arrived, I said to her, this represents your capacity, your energy. This is your strength. So even when I'm thinking about the gifts that I choose for clients, it's about reflecting back the concept, the theme of what it is that I know is going to transform them. That from the very beginning of that retreat, they were having reflected back to them individual qualities that we then built upon in the strategic work that we did and throughout the week. One of the other things that I'd organized was that we went to a vineyard to obviously taste some wine. But the vineyard that I'd selected has the highest awarded wine in Italy, but it produces a very, very limited number of bottles. So this vineyard is not about creating multiple different wines that could each go into categories and probably win them several awards. It is about quality over quantity. And so they gave us a tour at the vineyard and they took us into the hundreds and hundreds of years old cellars and showed us their process and showed us how minute the attention to detail was around creating these super, super high quality wines and how bold that was to do that within a country like Italy, where it's known for its food, it's known for its wine. But they said, we don't want to have the biggest selection. We don't want to be known as the biggest wine producer and have all of these choices. We want to be known as the best. And so even in that experience, which was towards the end of the week, when we'd done the strategic work, it was reflecting back to them in that experience where we went out and we had a lot of fun together. But as well, it was the quality and seeing a business that had been around for hundreds of years and has evolved over time, but has always focused on the quality, was just reflecting back to them how they could own the quality of their own work. And this is a concept that I take through in the way that I look at different events always is through this idea of transformation that I want to support clients with. And then I create a concept from there that feeds into experiences throughout the day, the materials that I'm creating, the way that they're met, the arc of the event, the way that moments are brought in. So another experience is I ran a mastermind day at the start of this year, which was for clients. The majority of them I hadn't worked with before. So some of them had been to my event in November, but I hadn't worked with them in close proximity. And there were only about 5 clients. And so I didn't know them. I didn't know them in depth. I did an intake form to get a sense of where their business was at. But I thought, right, the start of the year, this was in January, when you come out into a new year and you have all of these big visions of what the new year holds, and then you get to, this was late January that we did this event, you get to later January and it's that point where you sort of, sometimes it can start waning. The energy, the optimism that you had where you go into the new year and like, this is going to be this year, I'm going to make this much money, I'm going to do this and that. And then you get 4 weeks in and life's kind of become life again after the excitement of Christmas. And so I wanted to look at that with them in their business of where has it started to feel like a bit heavier because you've put all this expectation. And so we really went into this sense of play. And so the theme that I chose, the concept was called Head in the Clouds, because I wanted them to get back up into seeing their business from a vantage point, like from out of their business, to really stay in that play and possibility and to get back into the energy that they started the year with. And so that was how I structured the content. But also, I know from running events, I've run lots of events myself, but as a bit of a spoiler or like maybe a bit of a secret trick, I have always run events. So I started when I was at university, I was a wedding planner. And then when I worked in marketing and went into branding, I helped organize events for big brands. So I wasn't on the ground doing them, but the concepts of them. So big hotel brands or music venues, getting DJs in, working with really high end luxury brands to partner with them. So I've got a lot of experience of events. And I know that the key thing we need to look at is how you change the energy during the time that you have. And so for Head in the Clouds, I knew that I was going to ask a lot of them to be able to, they just rock up to this day with me. They've got no expectation really other than just open to it. That I was going to ask a lot of them to stay in this concept of let's think big, let's think what's possible. I knew that as it got towards lunchtime, the energy could drop. One, because you need food. Always have good food at your events. None of these like sticky bread sandwiches, like white sticky bread that my kids love, but not at events. But also it's because your brain is going through a cognitive overload, right? So you've started the day and it's all exciting. And then you go in and then it starts to become a bit harder and you're like, why can't I get this? Why is this not clicking? Why do things not really line up for me right now? That's a time where we can easily go into either shutting down because it just feels like it's too uncomfortable, or can just really want to control and go into all of the how. Like, how do I do this? But how does this work? But what does that mean? What's that next step? And for me, these mastermind days, these intimate experiences, these strategy days they're not really where you do the how, not with me anyway, because we can get into tactics. That is easy to get into once you have got into the right headspace of what is it you want to create? Where are you being complacent in what you're doing now? Let's open it up. So I knew that I needed at that point as we get to lunch to make it fun again, to let them play and like not get too worried about, but how's this going to work out for me? The venue that I hosted this at was a hotel in South Kensington in London, where I knew that they did a afternoon tea, but it's science themed. So it was all experiments. So we went through, and I didn't tell them about this, but we went through to have afternoon tea. And as soon as they sat down, there were pipettes to make their drinks. There was dry ice. There was smoke. When they bought the cakes, they were all planet shapes, like beautiful colors. And it was just super fun. Like little desserts that were in chocolate soil where you had to dig for fossils to find chocolate dinosaur bones. And this is a high-end business event, but high-end does not mean stuffy. And for this theme that I had, where it was about them playing a possibility, they needed to experience it as well and to just like lose themselves in that. And when we came back from that afternoon tea was when we then went into the how. Okay, what does the plan look like? What is it that you're going to commit to? And from that day, I'm just thinking of one client that she decided that she wanted to launch an event. She wanted to run her own events. And since then, she hired a castle. She sold out that event. She's doing another one in September. And that idea came from that day. That commitment came from that day. But it would not have come from the day if I hadn't helped her play in possibility. And that's not just, I can't tell her to do that. I can show and ask questions and coach her to think about it. But that level of commitment to go out and decide also comes from how you see yourself in experiences like that. And then my signature business event, so the one-day business event that I hosted in November. So it's only the second time that we're doing it. So the first year was last year, and I was ballsy, I'll tell you, because I did have it to be at 50 people. And in July, I said, maybe it was later than July, I think August. I messaged my team. I was in Canada visiting my sister, and I messaged them and I said, I'm playing way too small with this. Like, I'm doubling it. I know that I can sell the tickets for 50. It's not stretching me. It's not what I'm here to do. Not just for me, but this is my business event to have an impact on how women build businesses and also think about wealth. I cannot be playing small in that. So I doubled the event. We went for 100, and we had very little time to then get everything in place. That I just went huge with the concept, and I called it She Set the Standard. I hadn't named it up until that point. And I thought, right, Rachel, if you're going to do an event where it's about women seeing that their standard of what they want for themselves, especially in the wealth that they can build, I want to help women to see that. I have to create an event that reflects back a completely different level of standard to them in that room, where they feel like they walk in and they just feel like something massive is going to happen, but they don't know what is going to take place. So I really thought about telling the story of every woman in that space. I wanted every woman to sit down at their seat and feel like the next part of their story was unfolding. So when they sat down, they had a card that said, "I've been expecting you." And then you turned it over and each one had an individual question to them. Things like, what would it look like if you were to own this room? Or what does holding the standard look like for you? So they had a question straight away, which set the tone for what the day was going to be. It was like, oh, actually, everybody's got different ones here. This is speaking directly to me, but what do I believe about this? This is not a day where you sit there and you're just talked at and expected to make notebooks of notes. I wanted them to be really present in the room. So they had the card as soon as they got there. And then they had a set of affirmation cards that were bespoke designed. Everything was bespoke. That was part of their gifting bag. So these were not gift bags that had randomly selected brands in them. They were unique pieces. Like, you can't get these anywhere else. These were not standard, mass standard. These were designed specifically for the event. We then created a magazine. So other events have programs. I was like, I want every woman to see herself, to see her story in this magazine. And so I wrote the magazine. It was meant to be 25 pages. I think in the end it was about 40, maybe more. And it told the stories about the speakers that we had there. It was a hybrid between event magazine, but also we gave them travel tips for if they were in London for a few days. We did spotlights on our brand partners. And it was beautifully designed magazine for them to take home with them, right? That became like, you are part of something in this space. And then down to the partners that I chose to work with for the event, they all represented as well a standard of business that was being run. So the brand partners, I was incredibly lucky that they all came on board, but they were businesses that are challenging the way that their category was being done. And they were in the room. So the founders of the businesses were in the room that day. And it was so powerful to hear from them. So we had Verdant Alchemy, which is an incredible bath bomb scent range. They have different products, incredible ingredients, smells, and the quality of ingredients that's used in these products is insane. And so Vivian was in the room, the founder, and she was able to stand up and speak about how important it was for her to be in rooms like this and to build her business and to have her vision. We then had Siren Grounds, which is a female-first coffee company. So it's coffee company developed for women, and it's run by Samana Duran, and she was in the room. She was on the panel. We had Tea and Tonic, and we also had Not Another Ordinary Accessory, which creates their products from apple skin. So sustainable, environmentally friendly, but also incredibly beautiful products. You would look at them and just think that they are like the highest quality leather, beautiful colors. So the brand partnerships that I had in place as well was to also show in the room that you can challenge the category you're in. You can think differently and run incredibly successful businesses. You can go out and do something that you don't see is there, but just because you don't see it already does not mean that you should not do it. And so the brand partners really represented that. And then when everybody then left, we gave flowers out at the end of the day, which as a woman, I like to buy myself flowers. And I ran this event for women in business, but they'd had a whole day of hearing from incredible women, learning, seeing strategy, hearing from women that had sold, exited, businesses for 9 figures. And then I wanted them to feel as they left that they were getting to indulge themselves. Like, they got a rose. Yes, it's a small gesture, but individually selected, individual stems that they got as they left. And it's that element of surprise. It's that element of not expecting it. And this is what I mean about brand world. Because if you're sat there thinking, I can't create all of that stuff that Rachel's talking about, I'm not that creative. Every person that runs a business is creative. Creativity is not about being an artist. It's not about how you can create concepts like I've talked about. What I've shared with you are events that only I can create because they bring in my brand. My brand represents innovation. My brand represents creativity. I work in a deep way. I want my clients to feel like I see where they are playing it safe, no matter if you're in a room with me and 100 and 150 people, like She Sets a Standard, or you're in a room with me and there are 5 of us. So when I'm creating these concepts, yes, it's about the transformation that I want the clients to experience during the day, but I'm not just looking at information that I create or how I talk about how I give the information out, or is my framework right? Is what I say going to be enough? Are they going to leave with something? I'm also thinking about, what is it when they walk out of here? Why are they going to say go to Rachel Pearson's event? How are they going to describe it to somebody else? Because that's how my brand gets known. That is how my reputation goes beyond, oh yeah, it's a good business event, to you have to be in this room. And I've just started to sell the tickets for She Sets a Standard for November, and we are over a quarter sold now, and I haven't given any details. Like, my husband was like, you haven't given them the venue, you haven't given them any speakers, you haven't given them any details. People know about this event. It's only run once before, but people know that they need to be in this room. And that's the power of when you create a brand around an experience as well, that people want to get drawn into. And one of my clients who I worked with for a long time, I'm not working with her at the moment, but we've worked together for a long time. She said when she came to She Sets a Standard, I knew this was your event, even if I didn't know it was you. As soon as I walked in, it was your event and it couldn't have been anybody else's. And this is what I really think we're going to see with events moving forward, is that there are so many different events to choose from. And there are so many people, if we go outside of events, there are so many people now to learn from, to engage with, to experience, to hear from, to go to their talks. Why is it that they want to experience their time with you? What is going to make them walk away and go and tell somebody else and say, anytime that you see her or an event from her come up, you just have to be in that room? That is what I think we're going to see events move to, because there are certainly ways that you can create highly commercial events. And I'm always thinking of, how do I make commercial sense? Because you can absolutely run the money into the ground running events. It's a lot of cost. There are ways of structuring it that, through sponsorship or through how you do your ticket sales, that means that you will make revenue even before you sell tickets. But it's also, for me, about how you are creating events that only you can own from your brand, that can only be created because they represent your brand. And I think we're going to see this more and more with people bringing much more of their way of doing things into things. I think we're going to see, mixtures of like exercise and business, of arts and business, of more experiential things. And I love it. I'm really here for it. But you have to just think about, what is it that you do? Like, you work with your clients now. What is it that they love coming to you for? Why do they stay in your world? Why is it that they want to continue to be part of it? What is exciting for them? How can you bring that more into how you're running events and how you're communicating out your brand? So that is my insight into how I create events. And that's just given you a few examples. There are many, many more events I could talk about. But if you are feeling like you want to experience it yourself, then She Sets a Standard is running in London on Friday the 13th. We are going to make it lucky. Friday the 13th of November, 2026. We are yet to announce the speakers, but they are going to be incredible. Last year, we had Debbie Waskow, who's just been acknowledged with a CBE in the last week for her contribution to female entrepreneurship. We had an incredible panel. And this year, my vision is to take this event to be the premium business event in Europe. And so, as you can imagine from that, I'm going to be taking it up a level. So if you are interested, the link to She Sets a Standard is in the show notes. The tickets are going quickly, and it is going to be a full day where you will meet new people. You will have opportunities to network. One lady that came last year attributed over £60,000 of new business to coming out of that event, not from who she met in the room, but through strategies and ways of thinking that she implemented from that space. So if you would like to come along, I'd absolutely love to see you there, and you can get your ticket through the link in the show notes. Until next week, I am Rachel Pearson, and this is Rich Work. Thanks for tuning in to Rich Work. I'd love it if you left a review. It helps other women to find us. In the meantime, follow me on Instagram at rachelpearson.co for a different take on premium positioning, one that's not about fitting a box. See you next week.